All right. I need you to do me a favor. I need you to stand up. I need you to stand up for me. Okay. Turn to your right. Lift up your hands like a T-Rex, a dinosaur, and begin to rub the person's shoulder in front of you. Give them some love. Come on. Give me some love, love, love. Sing your favorite song. Get them really good, man. Come on. Nice and loose. Some of you ladies, that's too much. Stop. You right there. You know who I'm talking about. All right, now turn the other direction. And return the love. Return the love. Some of y'all are like, round 2 is better than round 1. But don't point any fingers, though, okay? All right. Give yourself a round of applause.
Think about how far it's come since you were staying in a hostel following.
And some of y'all are like, you and me. I'll give you my number later. That's right. Well, we're excited to have you back for our second session of dynamic speakers. And without any exception, we're just going to move right on into our next speakers, Richard and Marion Weddle, which were newly promoted national consultants. Come on. That's incredible, getting to the top level in the compensation plan. And it means the byproduct is you've helped significant amount of other people reach their check.
Reach their check, that's right.
Check.
Battery.
Check. What else do I have? Do I have anything else? The reason we're trying to get for the live stream, so we got any other mic that works? We already gave. Does your mic work?
Yep.
Just keep on. I'll stand next to you. Number one. Okay, cool. We're doing that for the live stream because they can't hear us if I start trying to yell or anything like that. So, obviously, newly promoted national consultants, Millionaire Club members, 5-star trip winners, co-founders leadership, Thompson Leadership Award winners. But the byproduct of their success, and they'll tell you personally, is that they've helped a significant number of other people reach their goals and dreams. You know, Steve Thompson alluded to that of, from a dollar standpoint, wanting to make $1 million. How many people you have to help make 100,000? And obviously, I'm super excited about to hear what they're going to train on because it's a lot of new information that some of you haven't heard before. But obviously, there's a lot of different things going on at corporate and with the international markets. And you might be thinking, you know, why would national consultants be interested after 10 years? Let's go for 10 years more, okay? And they're going to give you a great perspective on that specifically. And as why is someone like Steve Thompson, who's a number 3 income earner, still building the business and still personally sponsoring, as he told you before. That in Texas we call is a clue, okay? There must be some type of something going on that's even beyond what a multimillionaire could make in the business that would be so excited to not just hang it up, but to continue to build the business and help other people reach their goals and dreams. So without further ado, please get on your feet for national consultants, top income earners, my good friends and sponsors, Marion, Richard, and Weddle.
How y'all doing?
Great. Hello.
Good. Am I on?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Well, cool. Well, first off, thank all you guys. And Steve, thank you so much for being here. The reason why I bring that up is because I remember one of the first things you taught me early on was you can either grow your check or you can grow your ego. You just can't do both. So thank you for teaching us that very early on.
Thank you for teaching him that, Steve.
Wait a minute. We're not doing the comedy routine till later. It's a little early.
Hey, I'll let you have the clicker. It's all good.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Want to click it?
Yeah.
Oh. So, you know, Steve talked about this earlier, is really you got to spend time personally developing yourself because your dream in this business, your dream in life, it is going to demand the best part of you. And for some of you, the best part of you has not been seen yet. I mean, there is something inside each one of us that you didn't know was in there. And it's in this business that you're going to reach, dig down deep and find that.
You know, I think Coach talked a little bit earlier today when he was talking about the why, that, you know, your why should make you cry. I don't necessarily always subscribe to that completely, and not to contradict her. I'm just saying everyone's a little bit different with what they've got inside of them that they want to get out. But I always kind of look at this as it's not a practice life. Right? I got one life. I got this 24 hours. I got 168 hours a week. What do I want to do with it? How am I going to invest that time? Because I could spend it any which way I want, but there's not going to be much return on investment. And, you know, we've got 3 kids that are counting a lot on us. You know, I got a wife that's counting on me, and I don't have the luxury to indulge in not producing. Or if I'm not producing, to find out what I have to do to actually go produce. I've got to be willing to put myself through the eye of the needle and have those tough conversations. So I heard not too long ago someone said, hey, you know, I hear a lot of you guys want to be, you know, you want to be really polished in what you're doing, in your career, your business, whatever it is. But every time there's a little bit of rubbing, you twist off. Right? You want to be polished, but you don't want to be rubbed too much. Well, I promise you, getting to the top, there's some rubbing. Rubbing's racing.
Now this is our family, and this is what we always continue to sacrifice for. You know, I look at Tim's kids, and back in the early days, he didn't have kids. I look at Jared, he's got kids. And it's always exciting for the future and what you're building for your family, for yourself, whatever that is. But you've got to always have that in front of you. And the thing that I always like to impress upon everybody here is, you know, I've been sitting in the back of the room, and there's a ton of you in here, and the way you're in here, some of you are like really in it. You're in it to win it. You're taking notes. You're rigorous, and you're going to come away with something that's going to help you get to that next level. Some of you are in it, and you're just very casual about it. You're very lax. And what's going to happen with that is your kids, your family, whoever you've asked to sacrifice their time with you, their games or whatever that you're missing to be here, they're not going to get the fruit of that investment that they've made. So if you're going to ask them to sacrifice, because you're sacrificing, you need to actually produce something that's worthy of their sacrifice. One of the things that it's always great being with Steve. I mean, he said this is a far cry from back in the day when y'all used to follow me around New York and stay in hostels. And we did. Back in the early days, we did whatever we needed to do. And when we were building in New York, we didn't have a whole lot of excess income. We still had a mortgage office that we paid for that we didn't use. And so we had to stretch our dollar. And so Richard and I stayed at some pretty nasty hostels in Queens, New York, to be able to stay up there so we could build our business. And it really, during that time, it was morning, noon, and night. We would wake up. Our first appointment was at 8 o'clock in the morning, and our last appointment was 1 o'clock at night. And some of those last appointments were at Big Bowl with Steve at this Chinese restaurant, just learning from him and making the most of that time that we were away from our kids.
Yeah, someone taught me a long time ago, you build this business 8 till faint. You know, you're trying to get this thing off the ground. You know, I love what Terry and Brooke talked about. You know, what you heard in that story is they were trying to make sure that they protected their family and they didn't let that get out of whack. But there was a season that they had to apply concentrated effort where everything else was not an option. They had goals. They had things that they had to produce. They had fast trackings to hit. They had contests to win. And because they knew if they did those things in a short amount of time, the ripple effect, the residual from their efforts would follow with the residual of money. And so some of you guys have held back yourself. I mean, like, you won't give yourself all in. And that doesn't mean quit your day job, but, you know, Steve said something about working every third day, if the worst case scenario. I mean, you definitely got to do something every day, but if you can't, you got to do something every other day or do something every third day. Or if you work shift work, maybe you got to string 2 or 3 days that are your so-called days off, and that's where you make up all the difference that you didn't do for the other days because you're taxed. You're working 12 hours a day and you got a family to take care of. Only you can figure that out. When you look in the mirror, you got to look to see how many minutes, how much time did I commit towards my Ambit business today? And each day you want to see what you can do to kind of increase that. Because if you'll build this a little bit over time, and for some of you, it won't take long to get free where you can break loose from a part-time job. And maybe some of you over the course of 12 months, 18 months could break loose from a full-time job if that's what you want to do. But it won't happen if you don't compound those minutes. You're going to have to put some concentrated effort and put other things that are just optional and just keep them off the table and make sure Ambit's the thing that you are pressing yourself the most on.
You know, I want to talk a little bit about this picture. It's a great picture, isn't it? Okay, all the other
biased.
seconds outside of that picture was mass chaos. And that's kind of how our life is. Like, it all looks all together and all pretty. And that's sometimes your Ambit business. At some point, it'll look like it's all pretty and all together. But in the making of it, it's mass chaos. It was not pretty the early days when we were involved in the business. It was not pretty what it took to get us to where we are. It was blood, sweat, and tears. I think about some of the leaders that are on every business presentation. Some people are like, oh, they can go to every business presentation because they're full-time. No, they're full-time because they've been going to every business presentation. They've been suiting up and showing up. They were putting in the ugly before it got pretty. And so everyone's got to pay the price to do the ugly before it gets pretty.
Those hostels that we were staying at were $50 a night.
All in.
Now,
Let me tell you.
Steve was at the Penthouse. He was at the Sheraton, or he was somewhere else. He was Holiday Inn Express. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't $50 a night.
Okay, let me tell you
I don't know
about
what
these
it costs
hostels.
today, but
We go to bed, we turn off the light. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I'd wake up and go to the restroom because I had just gotten pregnant then, right? Was I just pregnant?
Yeah, you were, yeah.
And I would turn on the lights, and we'd have extra little guests in our hostel. You know, those creepy crawlies. In the bathroom, the water would, and I'm a little bit of a germaphobe, so the water would actually stand in the tub to my ankles. But the water was so murky, I could not see my toes. I mean, that's the kind of hostel we stayed at. It was not luxurious in element.
and the cable wasn't very good either, because late at night, the only thing to watch was Friends in Spanish.
But Richard was rolling laughing.
It was funny stuff. It was funny stuff. But that's just part of the process. You know, we've had a lot of fun building this business. We've had a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. We've had some external trials and errors outside of this business. Some of y'all know when we came out of the mortgage business, we didn't necessarily come out of it unscarred, and we had another real estate investment company that was quite over leveraged as the economy was tanking and real estate prices were dropping like crazy. And there was only one time that I've ever said this to Mary, and it was probably the hardest thing for me to do as a man, is she knew something was wrong, and we were lying in bed, and I rolled over. It was early in the morning, and she said, "What's the matter?" And I rolled over, and I said, "I don't know how we're going to make it." And it was the only time I've ever had that fall out of my mouth. And even when the last word fell out of my mouth, I wished I could take every bit of it back. But I knew from that point on, what I was going to have to do is make sure that we were never in that situation again. And thank God we had Ambit to pull us through that mess.
So this was 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago. I look at how this little picture is. This is Brittany. Brittany's in the back of the room, our oldest daughter. She's in the business now. But
She
when
looks the same, by the way, 5 years ago.
well, when she saw this picture, she's like, oh my gosh, my hair looks so good. But I look at that picture, that 5 years went just like that. It flew just like that. And we worked our tails off during that time. And our kids were so young, and they didn't know. They didn't know what was happening. I remember Vivian, you know, holding on to my leg, yelling and screaming, and just tears running down her eyes, saying, "Mommy, don't go, don't go." And we'd go out of town, or we'd go to a meeting, and I'd just peel her off my leg and hand her to Richard's mom and say, "We're going." I mean, it was just, there are things that you're going to have to sacrifice for, but some of you guys, I have to be the one to say, on behalf of your kids and your family, shame on you. Shame on you for not giving it everything you've got in this business to produce something for your family when you're asking them to sacrifice. When you're not there with them, when you're gone evenings, when you're gone at training events, when you're gone on Saturdays and you're missing their recitals and you're missing their basketball games, whatever that is, if you're missing out on your family, go produce something for them. Go make something happen so that you don't look up 5 years from now and be like, where'd the time go and I'm in the same exact place? Don't be in that same exact place. Go do something about it.
Amen.
So one of the things that's very neat for us, and most of you guys know that we're heading over to Japan when we actually officially launch and open up over there, is that now our kids are going with us on this journey. Now, they used to kind of go with us a little bit. We go to New York. Sometimes we'd make the road trip up to New York together when we weren't able to fly for whatever reason. But you know, now they get to go pay the price with us. They get to experience that whole new culture. You know, Zach being 8 years old, Vivian being 12, Brittany being 20 years old, and they get to go launch that. We get to go do that together as a family, like a family business, which is something that we've always wanted to be able to do together. So just wanted to share with you guys some things at least about Japan, and I think there's a lot of people that they're optimistic, they're almost even scared optimistic because they feel like they're going to miss out if they don't have something right now on the ground. And all I can tell you is that if you are not building in your backyard and you're not playing the who do you know game across the entire country, you should be scared. Because you're not going to just strike gold and come up with some wild person on the internet that's living in Japan that's ready to go join your business, okay? I mean, you got to build your business here. You've got to make sure that you are making as many connections as possible here, because over there, you're not doing cold market like you do here. And don't think you're jumping on a plane and staying in a hotel for $50 a night. It's a little bit more expensive over there. So I'm just going to encourage you guys. Ladler went through the written list today. You've got to dig deep on that. You've got to play the who do you know game. You've got to be personally prospecting in your own backyard and making as many connections as possible so you can see what gold people are sitting on.
And really, for a lot of you guys, don't forget about keeping the main thing the main thing. The main thing is to promote as quickly as you can in the marketing plan. I mean, you've got to get promoted. So many of you are so focused on getting something going in Japan that you're not doing what you need to do to get promoted here in the States. Because if you're a marketing consultant and you have somebody come in your business in Japan, you want them to be in your regional code. You don't want them in your marketing code. You want to promote to get to that next level, to get to the bigger money. If you're a regional consultant, you need to do what you need to do to